What's going on, fellow A pluses? It's your boy Adam Perez. We're back once again with a brand new episode review as we are getting into the season finale. That's right, episode number 7 of Creature Commandos, baby. We put a nice little bow and ribbon on it, and we say farewell to the appetizer course that is the entry into James Gunn's DCU. When it comes to episode number 7, man, let me just say, great episode overall. Great finale. A lot of emotional beats in here, whether that be for the story arc for Nina in general, incredible sort of character growth for somebody like the bride, and a lot of really great sort of twists and turns, if you will, in regards to how the story has kind of been built up all season long in regards to its execution. And I really thought that the payoff, especially in this last episode, was pretty incredible. So quite satisfied to have a close to this story, but also at the same time, kind of looking forward to very much a potential season two. I do believe that they've talked about the idea that a season two has been greenlit or that they're definitely moving forward with one. When will James Gunn get the opportunity to write a season two? We'll definitely have to see, as I'm sure he's got his plate certainly full. But after this episode, man, I do have a lot of questions in regards to when will some of these characters be seen again. I will say I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that come Peacemaker season 2 that maybe we do have some live action versions of some of these characters pop up. I don't know if they have impact into the story, but I hope James Gunn at least took into account the events of Creature Commandos along with Superman, and especially with Amanda Waller being such a prevalent part of season 1. Who knows? Maybe we'll sneak in some live action characters from Creature Commandos in season 2. I will be curious to know who you guys personally would like to see get some level of live action iteration, certainly going forward. But overall, man, really solid and enjoyable episode and a great stamp to say farewell to this season. But let's talk about this, man, because if you ask me, I think one of the strongest arcs that we got in here was really the focus on Nina in this episode. I mean, I'm talking about just as heartfelt as can be, and just one hell of a crazy kind of backstory as we come to see that she's born as a child with a lot of irregularities, her lungs on the outside of her body, her father being a scientist, wanting to keep the baby and do his best to try and make it a comfortable life for her as it possibly can be. But clearly, it's very much a struggle on the mother. I really do love the idea that they especially gave us a scene here between the father and the mother in regards to the polar opposites on how they view Nina, the situation that they're in. And I can imagine it be extremely difficult, especially on the mother in here too. So to kind of see her direction in which she wanted to go, but then you kind of look at Nina's childhood in the sense of her having to lug around sort of all that equipment, right? I think he said it was like 30 pounds of machinery to kind of just help her breathe, sort of thing. I mean, she looked miserable just trying to walk to the park and stuff, right? So there are elements of what the mother saying certainly would be true in the sense that, you know, her growing up would be kind of a nightmare, you know. Definitely hard on her, despite the fact that, you know, the father clearly loved her and wanted to try and still give her the best the best living. And so, you know, it's one of those things you can clearly see both sides to the story here, with Nina kind of being really put in the middle. And I gotta tell you, this is also a story here that as a father really worries me in the sense of like having to set my kid out to school one day, you know, because kids are assholes, you know, like kids are really terrible. And the ribbit bitch sort of thing just really stung, you know, and the fact that Nina eventually kind of gave in to the bullies and never really fully fitting in, sort of thing. It is one of those things where growing up, especially in school, is vastly different nowadays than it was even for me. And trust me, I got bullied when I was like in 5th grade. My 5th grade year was miserable. And I can just imagine what it's like for kids these days with social media and getting into elementary school and high school and stuff. You know, the concept of Nina running away from school, I don't take that lightly. Like I can easily see somebody who knows that they don't fit in and really struggling despite her appreciation for what her dad has kind of done for her. You know, that's the type of stuff that worries me kind of as a father. Like as good of a father as I can be, and trying to make them mentally strong, and be able to stand up for themselves, sort of thing. You just never know, because kids are unfortunately ruthless. And so to kind of see her upbringing, how she was bullied and stuff, and kind of always viewed as a monster when she really did nothing wrong, I thought was a really sort of tragic story here for somebody like Nina. And then to have the opportunity to kind of see your father shot in front of you. I mean, it's one of those things where, you watch the story of Nina, and she's surrounded by all these other monsters and stuff. And all these other monsters in certain right have things to hold against humanity, right? Like, Nina has every right to resent humans, to be hateful towards who they are, for the way that they killed her father, and the way that they sort of treated her whole life, right? Like, the fact that she's even in Belle Reve, it's like, did she even do anything besides just be different in this world that doesn't understand creatures in general, right? And so to kind of see her surrounded by monsters when that's sort of the last thing that she is, I found really impactful. Nina just trying to live her life, and really being put in the situation just because she's different than everybody else. And it was just really stunning to me. And I felt really bad for her. And in regards to seeing her death in here, I think that was probably the most stunning thing. It's one of those things I put um, in my notes here, is that I feel bad for Nina because of the decision that she was put in. While she looks like the monster, the story here is that she isn't. And it's one of those things too where the bride, along with Dr. Phosphorus, just kind of hype her up, gaslight her. Not to say that Nina's always tried to fit in, or that she's been trying her best to fit in, because I don't feel like that's been the case. But when you haven't been accepted by people your whole entire life, and the one person that you are close to, in the sense of the bride, makes you believe in yourself all of a sudden when you don't want to do something, like, not that that's, I don't want to say that's like peer pressure, but clearly is some level of pressure of being accepted. I mean, she feels like she's being seen now. And the fact that the bride says to her, "You're the biggest freak out of all of us," it almost makes her feel like, in a sense of belonging. But the truth is like, Nina's not like any of them. She's, if anything, the most human out of all of them. And again, somebody that has every right to be resentful towards humanity, could easily take that anger and that pain to become a monster like the rest of them. That's just not who she is. And so for her to kind of be placed in that position, she honestly shouldn't have been in that position in the first place. And I think that's really what makes her story tragic. Look, if I have to look to a bright side of anything, I guess my bright side would be, at least she doesn't have to be in this world anymore of people that don't view her the same, or look at her the way that they do. And she's finally with her father again, somebody that she clearly loved, right? But it's just, her story was just really tragic and just really sad. Um, and my notes that said, makes her feel like she belongs, but at the end of the day, she doesn't, right? She isn't the biggest freak of them all. She's the most human out of all of them. And I think that's really what hit me in this episode. And I feel absolutely terrible for her. And it's like, the two people in here, and look, has Weasel killed people? Absolutely. That guy can be brutal as can be. But the two people in here that are almost really didn't want to cause any level of violence, I think get the sort of the short end of the stick 9 times out of 10, unfortunately. Granted, Weasel is condemned, is celebrated as a hero in here for saving the princess. But one of the things that we talked about in last week's episode was, with him having that connection with the princess, was he going to try and save her life? Was he going to try and interfere in some way? And he certainly did in here. It winds up costing Nina her life, and he thinks that he's certainly doing the right thing. But it's just tragic to kind of see what happened to Nina in here. And I think what even made it a little bit harder for me too is that when we get sort of the very last sequence in here, one of Nina's friends in GI Robot is back. I've been wanting this man back for ever since we saw his demise a few episodes ago. But Homeboy's got himself a new look. He's been rebooted, remodeled, ready to go. I'm eager to kind of see what GI Robot can do in season 2. But considering the fact that he called her friend Nina, I kind of would have wanted him around in this episode to maybe not necessarily save her, but to kind of see his emotional reaction to the idea that Nina isn't there. And I think this leads me into the bride a little bit, because the bride in here, I think, has really great emotional growth as a character all season long, but especially in here. And while she uses her reason to kill the princess in here, says, because you killed my friend, and like, I think we kind of all knew that she had a warm side when it comes to Nina. But I do also think that there is a bit of blame that she feels, and I think you can see that blame in her eyes and that horror in her eyes when she sees Nina's dead body kind of float out of the water for the first time. And props to the artists in this show for really exemplifying incredible emotion for these animated characters, where the shock and awe and fear of the father realizing what his daughter's lungs on the outside of her body, the worry of watching his daughter transform into this aquatic monster in front of his eyes, and even to the bride in shock, and just kind of broken at the idea of seeing Nina's body. I'm pretty sure she's got to put a level of blame on herself for what happened, for putting Nina in that position, knowing that Nina was extremely reluctant to be even put in that position in the first place, right? Because let's be honest, they gaslight her, right? They gaslit her to believing something that she certainly wasn't. And I'm sure that there's some level of blame and animosity she's got towards herself for what happened to Nina. And, I will be curious to see if season 2, if that's something that the bride struggles with, if she puts some level of blame on herself. And as far as the bride story goes with Frankenstein, I am kind of surprised that it ended as quickly as it did. I don't believe Eric Frankenstein is officially dead. I would like to see David Harbour play him in some sort of live action role, or him come back in season 2 in some capacity. But it was just really short lived. I was really hoping that there would be a much bigger interaction. I think if there was any disappointment that I had in this episode, it would be that. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, I loved all the brief scenes that we did get of Frankenstein in here, as he just chuckles looking up at the bride just smashing a man's head into the side of the castle window, sort of thing. She's just up to her old tricks again, like, just that mentality of this twisted psychopath. And him literally trying to give them the warning, but her certainly not having any of it whatsoever, calling them a stalker POS sort of thing, and just shooting him kind of in cold blood before he can even get the opportunity to say anything. I mean, abrupt, definite for sure, definitive, I should say. And she certainly got the last word in here. But if Eric Frankenstein certainly survived this, he's not going to give up. He's not going to give up. If anything, I would love to see him find a reason as to why he believes the bride did this to him, and it's probably going to be something along the lines of, she just wants to continue the chase. This is why I love her, sort of like mentality, just twisted, dude, just twisted. But if there was any con I had to this episode, it was maybe their brief interaction, because the build up, I thought, to them meeting each other was going to be a lot better, or pretty great, and unfortunately this is what we wind up getting. But I love the final shot here with the bride confronting the princess, not only killing her with the cool slow-mo shot and her head back with the big bullet hole. I mean, the violence is visceral, but it's delicious, to be honest with you, and the way that they animate it in this show. I'm a really big fan of it. But storyline wise, I love the twists and turns. The idea that the princess that Cersei's vision was in fact true. I think that's something that we kind of agreed upon, is that I don't think Cersei was lying in regards to how do you get to that vision happening. One of the things that I thought was it was Clayface sort of all along, kind of pulling the strings for them to go and kill the princess, or be stopped, and that's what would cause sort of this war sort of thing. But it seems as though the princess kind of took that into account also, the idea that they would learn about Cersei's vision, and that she had to kind of put a stop to it. So clearly the doctor knew what she was talking about in regards to Cersei. The princess hires Clayface to then go and kill her, shift into her, knowing that they were going to do some level of investigation and kind of try and assassinate her sort of mentality. And so it's kind of crazy how it all kind of came full circle. But the bride, along with Dr. Phosphorus, finding the idea that the princess kind of really put them up to this all along, and the bride finally getting the upper hand and sort of last word to really save the end of the world, because the princess was really about to go scot-free. And I did wonder if she had some level of abilities or special powers to a certain extent, because when you see her underwater and she's stabbing Nina, her eyes are like glowing blue sort of thing. I don't know if that was just a reflection from the water or if she had some level of abilities. I don't know, but whatever abilities she might have had, she definitely didn't use them in any capacity to stop herself from getting killed. So I do like the idea that the bride sort of gets the last word, redeems her friend here, and gets rewarded with a brand new team of characters. She's got the Bat Lady. I don't even know what the character's name is from the comic books. King Shark is in here also, which I thought was pretty cool, making his way over from the Suicide Squad. And there was another other character in the background, looked like he was doing some knitting or something. I don't really know who these other characters were, but the Creature Commandos is back together, and it looks like they've got themselves a brand new leader in the Bride. Very well earned. I'm a really big fan of the Bride, to be quite frank with you. So I'm glad that they're back. I'm glad that GI Robot is certainly back, and I do wonder what the future of Rick Flag is going to hold, in the sense of where do we see him when we get to Superman? Because clearly he's walking around. I wonder if they bring up what happened to him. And I do know out of Superman, Rick Flag will also be in something like Peacemaker season 2, where he might have a significant role. So Rick Flag is definitely going to be around. I just hope that they kind of fill in the blanks for us once we get to something like Superman, if you will. But who knows? But look, guys, overall, really had a fantastic time with this show. Season wise, really surprised me. The animation I thought was really great. Character work and really character motivations all really fit. The first episode I had questions about the relationship between Rick Flag and the princess, but as the show continued to go on, we definitely realized the concept of them utilizing sex as early as they did was really character motivated and story motivated to kind of get Rick Flag under her spell, if you will. And you really start seeing all the other pieces kind of fall into place as to who the princess is as the story goes forward. Incredible origin stories that I thought were really impactful, made me appreciate a lot of these characters that I hadn't really been too aware of when it comes to DC Comics. It makes them somewhat relevant kind of moving forward. So I think James Gunn really did it again. One of my favorite projects from him so far, as part of just working in DC in general. But look, I would highly recommend this to anybody if you just love you some animation and want a really good, enjoyable season or series in general, certainly to check out. This is definitely one of them. But look, guys, at the end of the day, these are simply my A+ opinions. I want to know yours. If there's anything that I miss, or if you want to go ahead and build upon something, let me know your thoughts in the comment section box below. But that will certainly do it, guys. July can't come soon enough, baby. We will be here to give you guys our thoughts and our review in regards to the upcoming Superman, and definitely follow us on a weekly basis on A+ Hero Report live every Sunday for you guys, as we break down all the big news from Marvel, DC, television, and movie news for you guys. We'll definitely be talking more about the DCU. So until then, do me a big favor, as always, guys, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.